We're back, people. Welcome back. Miami Dolphins training camp, day 6. Big stories of today. First padded practice. Very exciting. It seems like the day was very physical. Like from every report that I've seen, like there was some battles up front. I think that's a good sign. Sometimes I think in training camp, like maybe a player's talent level can be a little misleading. But I think you can learn a lot about like the mental makeup of a team, like with how hard they're practicing. Seems like the team was going at it. It's sort of one of the big storylines. Also, I think Patrick Paul, from pretty much every reporter, seemed like the standout of the day in one-on-one drills, in team drills. Like he had a lot of rep wins. I think that's a really nice sign for Patrick Paul's development. I know he's probably one of the people's like biggest question marks going into this season. So nice to see Paul dominating, having some very good reps, and we'll go into the specifics of those in a little bit. Another big sort of storyline today, the most unfortunate one, is Ashton Davis injury. I don't know what's happening, but it just seems like every year, it seems like there's a position group that just gets cursed. And this year, it's the whole secondary. Because Ashton Davis goes down with an injury. It was reported he was limping pretty badly. And then he came out later in a walking boot and crutches. So seems like it's fairly serious. That is very unfortunate. It sucks I just feel bad for Ashton Davis. I feel like he's had that struggle with injuries throughout his career. Seemed like he had a pretty good chance of earning some playing time, and that happens. But I guess excited to see if the young guys can step up. I do have pretty good faith in the depth of the safety room, and I think bringing in Minka is a huge help. But that is sort of the unfortunate thing that can happen sometimes. So hopefully it's not as bad, and the walking boot and the crutches are kind of precautionary. Welcome back. What's up, guys? Sounds like, Willie Gay, I believe, had another strong day. Guess we can show some clips from yesterday that were not available yet. So first, this is the Ewers touchdown to Andrew Armstrong that we never saw. So Armstrong's wearing 19 down in the red zone. Gonna see a fun battle. I think that wide receiver 5 battle is very, very exciting, and Armstrong is definitely in the mix for that. I think, one of the UDFAs with the best chance of making the team. Some other news, Chop Robinson was wearing the orange jersey. No surprise. Chop's been, pretty much outstanding this offseason period. Storm Duck returning to practice is nice. I believe the people who were absent were BJ Adams, Kader Kohu, Dante Trader Jr., Daquan Jackson. Jalen Conyers wasn't practicing, so maybe that's, he's been dealing with something, and then Brewer is still out. And then same with Melifonwu and Waller, who are still on the injury list. But those are some of the players that are out. Going over some of the thing Travis Wingfield said on Twitter. Shout out Travis Wingfield. Definitely go show him some support. He goes like super in depth and gives a lot of things. He said Tyreek looks more comfortable catching the football this year. I wonder, he was talking about how much that wrist injury maybe affected him last season, and maybe he's back to full health. Because I do remember, like on film, there were some times he just looked a little more uncomfortable than usual to making some catches at the catch point. But first, we get into some one-on-ones, padded practice, one-on-ones O-line versus D-line. We haven't had this at all. It's all been like one-on-one receiver versus DBs, and we finally get to hear about like some of the guys stepped up. Yesterday, I think someone asked me about how Pharaoh Brown was performing. Pharaoh Brown had a pretty solid day as well. And I was like, I think Pharaoh Brown is a guy who maybe will show up more when the pads are on. And that seemed to be the case. He had some good blocks reportedly, and even made like a 20-yard catch from Zach Wilson, made a couple other catches. So that's nice. I mean, I'm not expecting Pharaoh Brown to be like a huge impact as a receiver, but if he can make some solid blocks, that's a huge bonus for the Dolphins. But I think the biggest pro for this is just hearing how the O-line and D-line were battling up front from a physical standpoint. It seems like Kenneth Grant got to show up with pads on. He said Kenneth Grant is taking dudes for rides in one-on-ones. He saw him take Jonah, who might be the hardest dude to move on the team, and walked him back several yards. And then he also talked about Patrick Paul. Like Patrick Paul was stonewalling. Everyone was hyping up Patrick Paul. Like Patrick Paul maybe had one loss in one-on-ones or something like that. Also finished it with a strong team period, like was just constantly winning his ones. And then Jonah bounced back and then had a stonewall versus Kenny. Seems like the first and second round pick really battling it out in camp right now. I like to see that, the iron sharpening iron type situation for the young guys. They can build that against each other. But yeah, he also said Paul completely stood Bradley Chubb up and couldn't. And then Chubb tried to redirect with a spin but couldn't get away. He also said he had wins versus Chop. Like, love hearing that for Patrick Paul. I think that's something people definitely maybe a little bit nervous about going into the season. I'm not too worried about Patrick Paul, I think, compared to some of the fans, just because of the nature of the scheme and like what he showed last year. I was like, okay, I think it's going to be enough. As long as the other players are healthy next to him, I think it'll be fine on the offensive line. But yeah, let me see what you guys are saying real quick. What's up, Trollway? How you doing? I haven't seen anything about that, Sam, honestly. Yeah, I know. I'm not worried about Brewery there, Nicholas. It doesn't seem like it's super serious. Yeah, Andrew Armstrong's made some plays. I feel like we haven't heard anything of Malik Washington. I've seen Malik Washington be reported making plays. Not like insane plays, but he's definitely being involved. He'll be your receiver 3/4. I mean, to me, Nick Westbrook-Akine and Malik will play like similar amounts of times. What's up, Julian? We need to get a job with the Fins. That would be awesome. So yeah, then we get to the DBs in their 1v1 period. Seems like the DBs had a pretty strong 1v1 period. Minka, Kendall Sheffield, Jason Marshall Jr. all had PBUs. Lots of sticky coverage, according to Wingfield. And then Tua hit some back shoulder throws. And then Ewers had a deep dime to Ezukanma on, I believe, Isaiah Johnson, yeah. Also, it seemed like Tua probably had one of his more inconsistent days. Like, he had some misses. Like, I feel like we hadn't heard a single negative, like, practice from Tua yet. And it seemed like, at least early on, Tua had some misses that I had seen reported. Like, nothing crazy. I mean, I'm not putting too much stock into it. I mean, I feel like, you don't learn too much about the vets on the team. There's not too much changing that goes on. But he said, and now Paul gets chopped, who made quick work of 2 previous reps against Borum and Hayes. Same results. Pretty rare to pitch a shutout and as an O-line in those 1v1s. Paul did it today. That is true. Like, if in one-on-one drills, the DBs in the O-line in one-on-one drills are usually at the disadvantage, like, because there's usually just more space to work with in those situations compared to like a real game. So Paul, like, going out there pitching a shutout against like top competition, very impressive. I also heard like Larry Borum lost every rep. Not surprising, especially if he was going at tackle. Was what he showed on tape. I think, also considering the scheme and like if he plays inside, I think that will be a huge boost for his game. Hopefully. Well, that will be when defense run stunts. Right, do you think we can be a playoff team if Tua stays healthy? I think they can fight for it. I mean, I think the AFC is tough. I think the schedule is actually pretty favorable. I think probably, to me, the team kind of relies on the O-line and Tua staying healthy. So I think if the O-line and Tua stays relatively healthy, I think you're going to see the offense be pretty good. And I think the defense is going to be like, in that 10 to 12 range overall. Maybe like 10 to 15. Like last year they ranked like EPA, they were ranking like that top 9 towards the end of the season. And that was with not the most talented group. And I feel like this front seven's more talented than last year. While maybe the secondary got slightly worse talent-wise, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a more cohesive unit than last year's. Because last year you had some talent, but people were not playing well. Lots of mental mistakes. So while like the defense could be seen as less talented, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a better fit for the team. I see. And he says, what else did he say? He said, realizing I haven't really tweeted about James Daniel much, and he thinks that falls into like, if you don't talk about him, it's a good thing. He's been solid all camp, no glaring losses. Seems like Daniels is feeling pretty good. I think that's something you need to keep an eye out. Daniel staying healthy, very important. Especially coming off that Achilles. I'm getting delusional again. I mean, hey, it's not that bad to get delusional. about about your football team. It makes the season more fun going into it. Might make it be more of a letdown when things inevitably fall apart. But good stuff. What else we got here? And then we get to team, and it seemed like Patrick Paul initially straight out to team, stayed ahead of it. He was able to reach Willie Gay and get out enough to give Achane to run the corner, said nice run going wide. It seemed like the run had some pretty big explosive plays today. It was either like getting stopped in the backfield or some big explosive runs. Also, I heard more Madison praise, like Alexander Madison was getting praise. That's like back-to-back days. And he looked even better with pads on, getting some short yardage situations. And that's how like Madison's going to make this team. He has to be able to he's had a pretty good like conversion rate on short yardage. And that's how you make the team especially with the Dolphins starter. You got to be able to convert short yardage because that was such a glaring issue last year. Rare misfire from Tua. Tyreek gets separation, but Tua is high and behind. And then Minka almost had a one-handed pick, but didn't finish it. Willie Gay continuously making plays. Another one this time he's making a play in the backfield versus the run, which is nice to hear because I feel like most of the impact plays we've seen him make have been either in coverage or as a blitzer. But he is, even though he's known for his athleticism, he is willing to play with a lot of physicality. Meet people at the point of attack, high energy guy. He said this period was physical, downhill, smash mouth run session. Madison moved the pile for an extra 3 yards. A bit another theme without pads, but nice to see it with pads. I like seeing that they're playing physical. I mean, that's one of the biggest narratives that kind of Miami has to break going into the season, and I think that was one of the Dolphins front office points of emphasis this offseason with players added. They were clearly trying to get more physical on both sides of the ball. Because I've seen people be really worried about Miami being I've seen some people think that Miami's gonna be the worst team in the league. I think that's a bit crazy. I think the only way they're the worst team in the league is if Tua misses the entire season. And even then, I think the backups are better than usual, so I don't even think they would still be the worst. They wouldn't be good, but I don't think they'd be the worst. But I think even if the Dolphins, as I said with the secondary, I think the Dolphins might have sacrificed talent at certain spots. Certain spots they got worse, but I think the team is a more cohesive unit. It's built better. It makes more sense for what they're doing on both sides of the ball schematically. And then areas they did improve are, I think, the trenches on both sides. I think they improved on both sides of the trenches, which is the area they needed to improve the most. Which, they improved in the areas that were clearly the downsides of last year. That kind of caused a team to fall apart. Any Wright mentions? I think I saw Jalen Wright had a fumble today, unfortunately. But that happens. Something you don't want to happen, but hopefully he can clean that up. But I know from outside of that, he's had pretty solid camps. I don't think Miami will need to blitz very much. You have a dominant front. I don't think they'll blitz a lot. They'll do a lot of different pressure looks, but they'll still end up bringing 4. So while it might be a certain blitz where a linebacker comes, they might drop an edge into coverage. I still think they're going to only try to get their pressure with 4, sometimes 5. I don't think they're going to be a super heavy blitz team. Maybe in certain games. I could see certain games. How's Wilson doing? Zach, if you're asking about Zach, I believe Zach had a strong day from everything I saw. Even though Ewers has kind of outperformed him, it seems like Zach's also had pretty good performances as of late. Nothing horrible, and that's a pretty good sign, I think, for your QB room, because Tua's been pretty sharp. Ewers has been a standout, especially for a 7th rounder. Zach's kind of played above expectations. Now it is only camp. I'm very excited for preseason for Zach and Ewers. I think that will be very important to see how that kind of plays out. But I do believe the QB room backups, I feel a little more comfortable than in years past. That's for sure. Right, you do fantasy football? Yeah, I don't play. I used to play in a lot of leagues. Now I only really play in 2, and one's a family league, so it's not even it's just kind of a trolley. But I play in one with my group of friends, and we get very serious with it. I think I'm tied for. I've won it 3 times, and I think one other person's won it 3 times, and then a couple people have won it twice. Some won. I think some have won it 0 times. We've been playing for a long time. Was Phillips cleared for full contact? I think I saw clips of him practicing today, so I believe so. If he's out there, he was practicing in team drills. I think right here. Let me see. I think this is Phillips right here that gets the pressure and sack onto a 15. Yeah. See, look where Phillips is lined up. Look at the field right now, because this is padded practice. This was today. You got Chop's in the orange jersey. Chop on the left side. As I'm saying, Phillips. When you have Phillips, Chop, and Chubb on the field, they're putting Phillips in the interior, and I think that's the best choice. I've been kind of hinting at that. I know Chop can do it. I know Chubb can do it as well, but I think Phillips just makes the most sense. Just when you combine all of their like athletic and physical tools, I think Phillips can handle it the most. It allows Chop to really use his speed off the edge more, and then like Phillips has great hustle and pursuit, and you can really chase down QBs if they do escape the pocket from the interior. And he's a great stunt guy. So like when he does, look how he creates this space. Look at him create that space for Sealer, and then he still gets work at and gets to Tua. So, yeah, big fan. I mean, I love Phillips. Shout out Jalen Phillips. I think one of the few Dolphins players that follows me on Twitter. Let's see what else was said. Tua reads front side, comes backside, drills one to Waddle. Minka looked like he had a beat on it, but Tua locates it high and away for Waddle, who makes a leaping and spinning catch. Some fun football. Seems like Tua and Waddle definitely connected. I think there's one. I saw one play talked about that was towards the end of the practice. It was like a 30-yard completion from Tua to Waddle, and like every reporter talked about it like it was one of the best throws and just plays of camp. Yeah, then there was an overload pressure, kind of forced Tua, and he missed. He had Waddle but missed him. Willie Gay got a sack from depth. He beat Brunskill inside with a little hezzy step for a sack. Willie Gay, very good blitzing linebacker. Him and Jordan Brooks. That's why, like, I think you'll see some blitzes in terms of bringing your linebackers while you're only dropping for like. Get Quentin Bell on the field as like an edge. Have Quentin Bell drop because he's a good dropper into coverage, and then bring a player like Willie Gay or Jordan Brooks. Very effective blitzers. Now the line holds up against a pressure look. It seems like the backups maybe, and then Wilson has all day and drills a 20-yard inbreaker to Ezukanma. That's nice to hear. Wilson tries one outside to Eskridge, but Ethan Bonner had a really nice hip flip and undercut for the breakup. Nice to hear Ethan Bonner's name. I feel like we haven't heard a ton of Bonner. And I want to see him stand out because I was a huge fan of him after his rookie season. Safety replacement? I mean, I don't know. I think if Melifonwu and Trader come back healthy, like pretty quickly, I don't think they need to sign anyone. But if they're still out, then yeah, they might have to make a move for a safety. And I've seen people mention Justin Simmons. I don't know if they're gonna go for that, like especially considering the price range. Yeah, had some different interviews. Say James Daniels got interviewed. He said, recovering from his Achilles, reached out to a lot of people. He said he's developed a chemistry with Austin Jackson on the right side, and he was really impressed with Jonah and the starters early on. Because there's going to be growing pains with rookies, but I feel like for the most part it's been relatively positive for Jonah. I feel like even more positive than I expected. So that's actually, I think, a very nice sign. Cool concept to get Waddle matched up on a backer. Tua finds him, and he had all sorts of daylight after a catch of about 7. Waddle has been one of the stars of camp, looks fast, catches everything. That's what Travis had to say. You know how I feel about Waddle. I think Waddle's somehow become very underrated. I don't understand it, but he somehow has. Chop closes the period with a bull rush on Jackson that gets him into Tua, forces the play to stop dead in its tracks. Chop has added to his arsenal and looks like a straight-up problem. Yep. There's few players on the Dolphins that I have literally no worries about, and that's players like Waddle, Chop, pretty much the entire edge room other than, I have some worries when it comes to injuries with players, but, pure play, I am not worried about those types of guys. Jordan Brooks, I think very highly of them, and it's not surprising to see them making plays. Then then after that, that's when the Ashton Davis injury happened. Unfortunate, man. It just sucks. Especially because it sucks when a player that's kind of dealt with injuries for a while, and then that kind of made them, play as a backup role, and then he had a chance. He had a chance to start in Miami. He was the starter with Melifonwu out. Him and Minka were the two starters, and then he gets that, and now he's in a walking boot and crutches. maybe it's not as serious as that looks, but that does suck for Ashton. I am excited to see if the young guys can step up, like McMorris. I know Trader's expected back in when they do like the combined practices, which is in like a little over a week, I believe, like a week and a half. And so hopefully they can make some plays. I know John Saunders, the UDFA, has made some plays. I think Colbert had a pick yesterday, so we'll see if any of them can stand out. I'm excited to see like Trader McMorris do a lot. And there's Elijah Campbell, who I think is, better than what people are thinking. All right, what do you think about signing Fant featuring 12 personnel? Well, I mean, I like signing Fant regardless of 12 personnel or not, honestly. I think Fant is actually a good fit because, like, while Fant and Waller are both receiving tight ends, they're different types. And I think Fant would be the best one on the team. And he's not a great blocker, but I think he's a better blocker than Jonnu and Waller. And he's more like a Jonnu type of tight end than a Waller receiver. Like, Waller's more of a stretch the field, get him isolated on the outside type of tight end that can run routes. And then Fant is more of like a get him the ball underneath and let him take advantage of his great athleticism and speed. You want to create him space, kind of what you would do for Jonnu. And he's able to pick up yak. Like, he was one of the better yak tight ends in the NFL throughout his career. And he's still pretty young, I believe. I think he's and he was a former first round pick. Like, I still feel like he can maybe take a step. Yeah, Noah Fant is 27 and will turn 28 in November. Like, that's still pretty young. Like, if it's pretty cheap, I would 100% take a chance. Sorry, I'm dropping frames. Hopefully it's not too bad. Yeah, to me, Fant and Jonnu were like the options last year that were like, oh, that makes sense from like an underneath receiving threat at the tight end position. What happened to Ashton? I don't know what happened exactly, but he limped off the field. I don't think anyone saw exactly what happened, but like he limped off the field and then has the problems. Don't really think Davis was going to be started. He was a very questionable option. He very, very, really bad tackler. I mean, he was going to play. I agree that he probably would have been your third safety, but he would have played in 3 safety sets. I think he's one of the only guys that plays single high. I think he would have played like significant snaps this year. And he still might if the injury's not that bad. I mean, I'm not like I wasn't like super high on him or anything. I just think he would have played snaps based on just kind of how things play out. Hitter coding swelling not going down, can't get MRI yet, could be concerning. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anything about it yet. How would you start who would be your starters? I mean, on the D line, I would start if it's just 2 D tackles, I would have Sealer and Grant, and then Benito and Phillips would rotate in. At edge, I guess you would start Phillips and Chubb, but it doesn't really matter to me. Like, Phillips, Chubb, and Chop are all going to play similar amounts of snaps. And Chop, I wouldn't be surprised if Chop's not the starter, but ends up with the most sacks because he's going to get a lot of pass rush snaps. Yeah. Cardinals signed Gilmore. Who, Stephon? Yeah, I think one of their corners got tore his ACL 2 days ago, right? Let me see. Has anything else been said in interviews that I missed? I don't think so. Also, it looks like Taj Washington made some plays. He had a Zach Wilson connection for looked like he, juked some people out, gained around 50 yards. Shout out Taj. I feel like we hadn't heard about much from Taj yet. He's another one I will be keeping an eye on in the preseason because I do think he is pretty talented. He didn't really get to do much last year because of that quick injury, but he outran the entire defense, picked up about 50 yards on the play. Sealer creating some instant penetration, beat Jonah on the play. And then Sheffield came off the corner to get the sack on it. First, Zeke Biggers mentioned. I feel like I haven't seen Zeke Biggers mentioned, but he had, with the pads on, getting a mention. He got a pass rush win. And then Wilson hit the threw the ball down the field to Tariq Black. Willie Gay with another sack. Reek and Waddle remove the top of the defense. Alec Ingle is all low down the sideline for a catch and a run of about 25 to 30. Tua hitches and finds Achane, who drew Phillips, who drew Chubb in from coverage. It was up to Minka in wide open space to get Achane down to prevent a 60-yard touchdown. It's good for at least 40 either way. It just seems like it's back and forth. Like offense makes a play, defense makes a play, offense makes a play, defense makes a play. And it seems like Achane's getting a lot of explosive plays. And also, I think Chubb got interviewed. He even mentioned, like, man, Achane, that guy's fast. He's out there making those plays. Jordan Brooke comes this time and gets a sack on Tua, bringing some pressure. It seems like they are blitzing those guys, Brooks and Willie Gay, getting them some different looks. But they also just might be trying to get the offensive line different looks with different blitz packages. Maybe could happen less time in the games. He talked about how Madison had a good day and after getting some nice short yardage, he had a big run. Definitely his best day, and it came with the pads came on. Then it seems like Willie Gay came in for a pass rush win, but Ewers got out the ball pretty quickly and found Baldwin on a hot read. Nice to hear that from Ewers. I feel like one area that I am worried about Ewers is his ability under pressure. So, it is a practice setting, so he knows he's not going to get hit. So I really want to see that in live action, but it's nice to see him at least doing it in practice. It's at least a positive sign. Minka erases so many shot plays. A few times today, Tua has come off the pass play looking to get one of the race cars downfield, but Minka is there. Oh, yeah, and then this is the one I was talking about earlier. He said, hopefully the Dolphins show a video of this. He said, best individual play of camp, Tua throws a vertical fastball to Waddle from 30 yards out. Waddle had a step on Bonner, but ball was long. He makes a full extension diving catch. Said he was reminiscent of Ken Griffey Jr. Said Dickerson and Bell have been solid against the run all day. Zach rips one between two defenders to Pharaoh Brown, who high points it and hangs on through contact. Willie Gay making more plays. Yeah. I think those are all like the main notes. I think this was one of the run stops from you get to see. This is when they're running to left. It's nice to see them getting like Willie Gay. It's like Willie Gay getting off the edge here, number 40, taking on the fullback, being able to set the edge. Like if this is live action and they're actually tackling, he brings him down there, Achane for a loss. This is something Willie Gay, I think, actually is more comfortable doing. I think when he has to play as a true off ball, sometimes can get maybe a little bit stuck trying to read stuff, has to, play in that more shuffle read type of thing. But when you can just get him downhill, take on a block with his physicality, and then use that athleticism after the fact to make plays, that's where he can more thrive versus the run. But yeah, good work there. Could seriously see Madison outsnapping Wright this season? That would surprise me. That would very much surprise me. And it would be a huge mistake, in my opinion, because even though Madison's performing in camp, like I still film is king, And Madison doesn't have that great of film. I think he can make an impact as a short yardage back, but if they do not try to get right valuable looks, I think that is a failure in the Dolphins front office. And I just think Wright's way more talented. It really just comes down to the blocking up front. If the blocking up front's good, you want Achane and Wright out there because they can take the most advantage of it. Would you want to trade Hill next season? I think Hill's probably gone next season anyways. Just if you look at his contract, I think if they can even trade him, they might have to cut him, honestly. Who is your fifth receiver? Probably Armstrong. I think makes the most sense. Passing down, rush, Zach, Chop, Phillips. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can get them all out there and passing out, it's not going to be every passing down, but there's there's definitely situations where they're going to try to get those four on the field. So you have those four on the field, and then you bring up Brooks or Gay on the line of scrimmage to at least show pressure. They don't even have to blitz, but just show a pressure look. Then they drop, and you still bring those four. Man, it's going to be very tough for O-lines to block, especially in obvious passing situations where like those four are just trying to get after the QB. And they're working their stunts because all of them are very good in the stunt game. That's why I like Phillips and Sealer in the middle, because they could work stunts off each other very well because they're both extremely good at it. Madison was a number 2 for a long time in Minnesota. Yeah. And he also wasn't very good there. Because I was never a fan of like, and that's honestly from a fantasy perspective, because I'm like, dude, if you watch Madison's film, he's not that good. And then like they're thinking he's going to take over as the number 1 because Cook went down with injuries, and then he would take over as number 1, was just terrible. I think Madison is a number 3 running back in the league, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't mind him being a number 3. He's potentially your number 4 if Gordon can beat him out. I don't think he will. It's tough for a 6th-round rookie to beat out vets like that. But I think it's a mistake if you try to play him over Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright would have to be really struggling for that to happen. Show the Waddle catch back shoulder when Minka tried to jump it. Do I have that one? I don't agree. Young players should earn it. If they don't, it's the front office problem. It's a big boy league, right? Don't get handed anything. I can agree to. I mean, I agree with that, but I don't think Madison has Madison earned it over Wright? I don't think so. Like if Madison was like way outperforming Wright, then sure. But like it seemed like Wright was having great practices, and then Madison has 2 back-to-back practices that are good, and it's like all of a sudden he should be getting looks over Wright. Like, no. To me, it's always. I usually have the problem with the opposite. The young guys actually earn it, but they give it to the veteran because the veteran, they trust more. They don't give it to the young guy because he's still developing. It's like, dude, just play the guy who's better, and Jalen Wright's better. So, like, I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's actually the point I was making. Jalen Wright is better than Alexander Madison, so he should play. If Alexander Madison was better, I would agree, but he's not. I'm telling, if Tua stays healthy, we are Noah Fant away from being nearly unstoppable. I mean, I'm down for Noah Fant. Just depends on the price point. Also, Dolphins signing Mike Hilton was a reaction to losing Artie Burns to an ACL tear, and signing it was a reaction to result. Oh yeah, I agree. I can't wait to see, because Mike Hilton already said bye to Cincinnati, and that was like 2 days before Kohu even got hurt. We will really have a good defense. I agree. I mean, yeah, Wright definitely has things to work on. Like, he wasn't perfect at all last season. But, like, Madison has been a bad player in the NFL. Like, I mean, bad's a strong word. He has been a below average running back his entire career. So it's not like it's that hard to be better than. Like, if Madison's your RB2 and, like, he's getting significant snaps, not just short yardage, we are in the darkest timeline. And no offense to Alexander Madison. I've just been not a fan of him for many years because I don't think he has good vision. I don't think he has great athletic traits. And that's a recipe for disaster at the running back position. I think he can run hard and get some short yard stuff, but even then, like, it's just all about blocking up front. I think if the blocking up front is good, the Dolphins running backs will thrive. Pretty much all of, like, it will help all of them, obviously. But I think, you want the best players out there. And Jalen Wright is extremely talented. And I also think you got to put these players in better positions and, like, not always calling outside zone when Jalen Wright's in the game, I think would be helpful to him. I also think it could be a potential coaching thing. And Wright had a very bad rookie season, in my opinion. I think it was just more so an O-line thing. Wright has the clear RB2 spot in my opinion. Oh yeah, I agree. I don't even think it's close. Like, like if Madison outsnaps Wright, then he would have to start going insane. I think Wright is pretty clearly running back too. Yeah. Well, best thing for the Dolphins is Jalen Wright. Even if he doesn't reach his potential, he's still going to be better than Madison. Out of the tight end who is getting the most catches in camp? Probably Tanner Connor, I guess. Because he's like the only receiving tight end out there. Yeah, but okay, so what are you saying Wright has to earn? Because doesn't Madison also have to earn it? I just don't understand what the logic is here. Because, I mean, doesn't every player have to earn it after HN pretty much? It's not like Madison's proved anything. Still no news on Noah Fant? No. Noah Fant's taken like 3 meetings with 3 different teams, so I think he's taking his time. Would you rather an elite front 7 with a weak secondary? Yes, not the inverse. I think they make more of an impact on a play-to-play basis. And can... Who had orange jersey today, Willie? Chop wore orange jersey. Alec Ingold, run game MVP. He is one of the most important factors. He just has to play like at a higher level, you know? Hopefully Ashton's good. Let's see, anything else being reported? Yeah, here's the picture. Yeah, there's Ashton. Came out pretty quickly, so unfortunate. It's an open competition, in my opinion. I mean, sure, you can think it's an open competition. It ain't, but we can think it is. Because I think sometimes people put a little too much stock into a training camp performance. The wrap for Davis. Yeah, Mika making plays. I didn't see any flashes of brilliance. I mean, that Patriots game was... I mean, that Patriots game was a very high-level game out of Jalen Wright. Like a very good game. And it was one of the only games the offensive line run blocked well. I think it's hard to judge a rookie running back. Especially look at Achane. Achane had a bad year too running the ball. It was not really a running back. I mean, running backs definitely lessen plays on the field. Don't get me wrong. But it was more of a run blocking issue. And it was the tight ends, the fullbacks, the O-line. Because I think like 90% of Wright's yards came after contact. Any chance Theo Weiss? Yeah, he has a chance. I think Theo Weiss or Andrew Armstrong are fighting for that 5th spot right now and are probably the leads. I mean, it just depends how preseason plays out. Preseason will change a lot. Let's see. Yeah. Because I think that's pretty much everything. Any questions? Who do you predict will have the most surprising season, either playing significantly higher or below expectation? Well, I've said it. And we've been talking about him. Jalen Wright. I think Jalen Wright's going to be the biggest breakout of the season. On the team. But outside of that, Patrick Paul will play above expectation. Below expectation. Ooh, let me think about below expectation, actually. Because last year, my below expectation player was Jordan Poyer. That one was on point. Because Jordan Poyer, let me see. Let me look at this. Below expectation. Who's a player the Dolphins our fans have high expectations on that won't play as good? Honestly, I actually think he'll play solid. I don't want to say this player's name because he's having a great training camp, but I feel like with how great his training camp is, people are thinking he's going to be like an elite linebacker, but maybe Willie Gay. Like, I think Willie Gay will have a solid season, but like, I don't think he's going to be like a dominant player like some people might be expecting after training camp. But I don't really want to say him because I still think he'll be solid / good. Who else? Who's a player that I don't feel like the Dolphins don't have a ton of players that people are like super high on other than the very obvious. I think all of them will be fine. I remember I was trying to convince you Poyer will be good for us. Yeah, I just think, I mean, I thought he would have played maybe a little better than he did, but he was downright awful. How's Kenneth Grant performing in camp so far? It seemed like he had a stronger day today with the pads on. Like he had some wins one-on-one. That's what Wingfield said. And then him and Jota were like battling, like getting wins back and forth. So I like seeing Grant and Jonah battling out there. Feels like secondary will be a revolving door this season. Definitely a possibility. I think people could be rotating in and out. Injuries or not. I mean, it seems like it mostly will be because of injuries. Ollie Gordon will outperform both of them? I don't think so. I've also had this argument with people thinking Ollie Gordon will play over Jalen Wright. I think that's very unlikely. And I like Ollie Gordon. Biggest breakout will be Willie Gay. Below expectation will be Wright. I'm the opposite. Because I think Willie Gay will be good, but I think people think he's going to be like an elite player. He won't be an elite player. He won't be playing at an elite level or like a super high level. He'll be solid. He'll make some plays. And then some people I think like with how I think people look at Jalen Wright, if he plays below expectations, that means he's damn near horrible. Because outside of me, I haven't seen that many people super high on Jalen Wright. Poyer did cost us the Buffalo game. Tyreek might take a step back. I think compared to last year, no. Because I think last year people would look at it as like a step back. I think he'll be better than he was last year because I think he's healthier. And I think the Dolphins offense in general will just be better. Like, I don't think he'll be what he used to be. Like, he won't be his 2023, like, 1,700 yard version, but he'll be better than this, like, barely 1,000 yard version that he was last year. So it just depends on what you mean by take a step back for Tyreek. Because he's not going to be the same player he used to be, but I think better than last year. Jason Marshall over Cam Smith, yeah. What are your thoughts on why they stuck Jonah at left guard and do their teams that Jonah has been very good? Excited to see. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad with it. I think it's just I think, a lot of people wanted to see like a vet next to the rookie and the other young guy next to a vet. I think it's just more about what's like they're comfortable with and building cohesion and chemistry. And it seems like they're comfortable with that. And maybe the left side of the line. And if you look at the past, they have kind of wanted to put more of the bigger, stronger guy at left guard. They did that most seasons other than one. I think the 2023 season, they did the opposite. Like, they had Robert Hunt right guard, and then they had Isaiah Wynn at left guard. But I think from what they were trying to do, they also, if you look at the Niners, they've done in the past where they had the big body guy at left guard. So it seems like that's what they were like envisioning with Jonah. And then Daniels and Jackson, not like small, but, got some movement skills to them. Still can create movement in the run game, but then the left side's like the big side with Jonah and Paul. And you want them to find some consistency, and hopefully they can build nice chemistry together. Just yeah, whatever's most comfortable. Gay should start over Dotson. I mean, yeah, it's a real possibility. If we have a top overall this year, does Weaver get a head coach job next year? Oh, I would say very likely. And it might even be Miami's, depending on how the offense does. Who was doing the college version of the CBs? Cam Smith and Noah? Yeah, I mean, Noah was definitely a reach. And I liked Noah in that draft class, but I had Noah in like the 3rd round. But they took him in the first. And like, because Noah was more of an upside guy. But that was a huge reach. Cam Smith has been unlucky. I think Cam Smith was very talented. And if you look at his film, he actually had some good film in college. But I think his biggest downfield has been injuries. And there was always like a potential immaturity issue. And sometimes players don't work out because maybe they just don't have the drive and work ethic. And they could have the talent. I think that was more of Cam Smith's problem. Well, Noah was just super raw and they took him way too early. Because Noah, I think, actually had a decent year last year for Washington, but still is like, he'll never play up to where he was drafted. Dotson is clearly linebacker too. Wright will be average. Hey, if Wright's average, that means he's better than Madison. Because Madison ain't never been average. Dotson clearly that'd be too. I mean, I've said it with the linebacker room. I think all of them are gonna play. Because like this is like the problem with like the Willie Gay stuff is he doesn't exactly play a true off-ball position. So like if he isn't the starter, I still think he's gonna go out there and play certain snaps. Like he's gonna be out there in different packages. That's kind of how I see it playing out. Like I think Jordan Brooks gonna be on the field 100% of the snaps. The other guys depends on the week, depends on the game. You're gonna see them rotated in and out. Cam Smith, barring injuries to our CBs, will be the odd man out. Definitely a possibility. If Waddle gets back on track and outperforms Reek, can we call that a breakout? Depends. I guess it depends on the actual. I guess it would be a breakout in the eyes of most people, but I'm super high on Waddle, so like he would have to go like crazy for it to be a breakout for me. So I think it just depends on what the finished product would look like. The possibility. I like to see Ollie Gordon develop into Najee Harris. I mean, yeah. Ollie's got some things to work on too. How do we get Wright and H in the backfield at the same time? Have we done those sets much? I mean, the Dolphins love to run 21 personnel, which is 2 running backs, 1 tight end. And sometimes that other running back is technically Alec Ingold. But I'm sure they'll have looks where both are on the field at the same time. Maybe not both in the backfield, because they'll definitely have Wright on the field and then Achane like lined about wide. Yeah, 15 drops. That Google AI is crazy. And I'd troll away based on what Omar and Poop have said, and TD AJ has been struggling, and has been a no-show in terms of a breakout player Jordan Phillips, bust player Kenneth Grant. I think Phillips will play solid, and as I've said with Grant, I think Grant will have a similar trajectory to Chop in terms of like maybe a slow start, but the light will switch on eventually and have like a solid finish, and then you'll be like year 2, very excited type thing. Does McMorris step up with Ashton out? I hope so. I hope they give McMorris a fair shot. I think Campbell is going to be the first one to get that look, just due to how things work. Like, as I was talking about, like, just how, like, they're going to give that veteran the chance, the guy they're more comfortable with, even if McMorris, like, outperforms him. I don't know if he is, but that's just how it is. Like, McMorris has to, like, really outperform him to get that shot. And I'm a big fan. Waddle 1,700 yard season. I would love that. Honestly, fins all the way up. Yeah. Do you think they will play more trips, especially with guys like NWA? Assuming you mean NWI. I think the Dolphins will play more 11 personnel this year. I think that's kind of been the plan, especially after trading away Jonnu. They'll play more 11. Now, does that mean they'll run more trips? Look, I don't know. I think they're one of the teams in the NFL that runs the least amount of trips. But Tua has, I believe his EPA was super high from that chart I saw. Like he was like very effective in trips look. So maybe they've seen that and they're going to try to run it more. I think with 11 personnel, it makes it more likely to be run. But I don't know if it will become a staple. The Dolphins love to have 2 receiver sets still. They're still going to run a lot of 21, which, you know, if you're in 21, you're not going to have trips. Yeah. Yeah, depending on the Ashton injury, that does open the door for if it is fairly serious, like he missed multiple months, then that does open the door for one of the younger guys to make the roster that maybe we weren't thinking was going to make the roster. Likelihood Ezukama outsnaps NWI. Whatever the likelihood of NWI getting injured is, I would say that's the only way Ezukama could outsnap him. I don't even think Ezukama makes a team. I think he's practice squad, unless multiple injuries happen. Because he was practice squad last year. It's hard to go from making the team, and then getting cut in practice squad to then going back to making the team after you've like lost those guys, especially when you've brought in more bodies. And NWI is much more. It's just like a much better version, a much more proven version of what Ezukama. Basically, what they wanted Ezukama to be, but more of a Ezukama is more like Yak, I guess. At least coming out. Let's see. I didn't see too much from interviews today, so that I didn't get to talk about. Yeah. Oh yeah, I saw CK Parrott talk about Marcus Williams. They could bring in Marcus Williams. I don't know if I love that because I don't think Marcus Williams played well last year, but Marcus does have experience in the system, so that wouldn't surprise me if that's a call they make. I forgot he was out there. But I don't know. I'd rather wait. For me, if they were going to sign someone, it would be Noah Fant at tight end, and I would wait on the safety room a little bit. I would wait to see what I mean, you got to wait to see what the deal with Ashton is first. But I would wait to see what you got out of McMorris, Elijah. Wait for it. It seems like Melifonwu and Trader will be back fairly soon, like within a week or two. So at least wait for them to come back and see what you got. But yeah. Wait, whoa. Police who killed 4 people in New York on Monday was targeting the NFL headquarters but took the wrong elevator. That's crazy. Okay. When did the NFL convert tight end to more of a big slot? I think there's just 2 different styles of tight ends nowadays, and it's easier to find the tight end that's more of a big slot. It's very hard to find a player because when the NFL became more pass heavy, you wanted tight ends who could make more of an impact in the passing game, and it's very hard to find a tight end that's good at both. Like, it's very hard to find that George Kittle, that Rob Gronkowski, that's like very good at both, you know? So I think teams have just decided like, hey, we'll have one tight end that can block, one tight end that can catch. Yeah. Do you feel McDaniel needs to improve his offensive play calling, or what thoughts on play callings versus Smith? Well, we've never seen Frank Smith play call, so I have no thoughts on Frank Smith, honestly. Like, he could be good, could be bad, I don't know. I think McDaniel needs to improve on situational play calling. I think he has really good play design, and I think when he has the people out there that he wants, his play calling can be very effective. I think last year he kind of had to go in a different direction that he didn't want to just due to the personnel, and that hurt like his play calling image a little bit. But also just like situational play calling, like short yardage situation, red zone, he needs to improve. With Jones and Hill both signed, I resume Russell Douglas is off the table. I mean, Probably. I personally don't think they need Rasul, so. Didn't he call it for preseason? Who, Frank Smith? Maybe. He might have been the play caller in preseason, but teams are calling very basic stuff in preseason, so it's really hard to get a judge on someone. If you had to guess what our 2026 round 1 draft pick position would be, what would you predict? Probably somewhere in the middle. I think somewhere in the middle is the safest choice. I think Peter Schrager answered it yesterday, or he said it, I think it maybe was on the McAfee show, where he said the Dolphins, like if he's asked around the league, and he said the Dolphins are like one of the great variable teams this season. Like no one has an idea of what the Dolphins are going to be. And I think that's pretty fair. I think it's one of the more difficult teams to predict because I think they have a chance to be pretty good, but I think their margin of error is pretty small. Like I think they have to get pretty lucky with injuries. And they really have to win pretty early on because, you know, some of the struggles they've had later on in the season, and they need to build some momentum because winning can cure all. And, you know, they've been said to have maybe a culture problem in the past, but it seems like they were trying to fix that this offseason. But I think it's probably a safe bet to bet somewhere in the middle just based on, you know, looking at the past. I thought Mike Gesicki was let go because he could not block. The thing with Gesicki is he was just the worst fit imaginable for the Dolphins game. Gesicki's not a bad player. It's just when you're at the Dolphins scheme, when you look at the Shanahan style system, if you can have a George Kittle, that's great. George Kittle's the perfect tight end because that's what Shanahan has. He's a great blocker and he's great with the ball in his hands. He's just pretty much great every year, but his biggest strengths are blocking and with the ball in his hands. Gesicki's 2 biggest weaknesses are he has no yak ability and no blocking. And that's what you need to be. That's why they brought in Jonnu, because Jonnu at least had yak. That's why I kind of like Noah Fant better than Waller for this system, is because Noah Fant's a better yak tight end. While Darren Waller can do more of the spread the field, maybe make a red zone difference, and that's nice. But you don't. That's why they didn't pay Gesicki, because you're like, you don't want to pay a player that's just a very limited role player, and that's what Gesicki would have been for Miami, and that's what Waller will be. But they're paying him a lot less than what Gesicki would have gotten. So he's like a specific role player. And then Noah Fant would also be a role player, but it would be more of like a fit of what Jonnu had with Miami. And Jonnu was also kind of a role player. He didn't block at all. That's why I've been looking for a tight end every year in the draft. I've been studying the tight ends that are kind of the perfect fit, and they just have not been able to get one of them. One that can block and get yak. They've kind of just gone for like a yak guy and then tried to get the other guys who are more blockers. We'll have a hard time making the injuries cost him both full years. Sucks. Yeah, and I like Taj a lot, but it will be tough for him to make the roster. Just coming off an injury as like a late round pick, didn't play your first year, it is a very tough spot historically to make the team the next season. I think yeah. Oh no, that was probably one of the biggest problems. Like people will be like, "Why is McDaniels calling so many screens?" And I do agree, he's calling too many screens, but it's not like I don't think he wanted to do that. Like it was just they couldn't run the ball, they couldn't gain a yard running the ball in certain games. So he's like, the screen was just the extension of the run game. And I think based on moves this offseason, they're clearly trying to not do that. Like they'll still call screens, but it will become way less common, which is obviously what we want. SP, which tight end did you like in the last draft? I mean, I think fit-wise for Miami, Tyler Warren was the best fit. But that means you would have to take him in the first round, and I just don't think the Dolphins would have ever taken him. I can actually look at my draft list. I liked Gunnar Helm. Gunnar Helm would have been an interesting option in terms of that. Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor's son would have been an interesting option. Terrence Ferguson is kind of fit in that yak and, has at least the frame to be a potential blocker. He ended up going in second round even earlier than expected to the Rams, who also run that sort of similar system. Trying to see who else did I have that would have kind of fit into that. It's just very hard to find guys. Like late round options, there wasn't a ton. Yeah, none of the rest kind of. There was guys I liked, but none of them quite fit the bill. Like I liked Elijah Arroyo, but Elijah Arroyo is more of that field stretching, route running tight end. Same with Colston Loveland. He went 10th overall, anyways. seems like there was injuries all around. It seemed Worthy got shaken up. Maxwell Hairston is getting his knee checked out. Malik Neighbors left practice. Christian Gonzalez didn't practice for the Patriots. Some pretty big names. Haas. Oh yeah, Haas for a blocker. I forgot to mention. Yeah, Haas is just like a straight up blocker. Would have been a good shot. And I think Jackson ended up in Buffalo, didn't he? Laporta, yeah, Laporta was my guy. Laporta was like one of my, but we didn't even have a chance to get him. He was gone before we even picked because we didn't have a first round pick that year, and we only had a second rounder. But yeah, it would have been Laporta. That was a couple years ago, though. A few years ago now. 2022, I think. Maybe, yeah. Or was that 2023? It might have been 2023. Let me go here. Yeah. I agree to accept Ryder, but he also did before the injury. See the Jags games last season? Yeah, but they didn't run the ball well at the beginning of that game either. So I think he started throwing screens because they couldn't get anything going. And to me, that's just a one game sample size. I would rather go back to previous seasons where you look at like the entire season and it's like, oh, when the Dolphins could run the ball, screens were a part of it, but much less. And then the Dolphins finished out that Jaguars game by running the ball downhill after like the Jaguars clearly got tired out. But hopefully they retire. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's still early. I think the Dolphins will probably have a lot of needs after the season. So, because if you look at the roster, there's a lot of guys on 1 year deals. So it just depends on who they bring back. At what point in the season, if things go bad, would you have a fire sale and reboot? I mean, I probably would wait till like the trade deadline and see where you're at. Like if you're out of it by the trade deadline, then yeah, you can start trading some people away. Like if you're pretty much out of it, you're probably not going to be like statistically out of it. Like it's very hard to be like mathematically eliminated by that time. Like you have to be doing really bad to be mathematically eliminated. But like if you're pretty much out of it, like last year they were kind of in it, but they probably still should have traded Calais Campbell because someone offer like. I don't want to spread misinformation, but wasn't it like reportedly like a 4th round pick for Calais? And like obviously Calais is good, but like if you're getting 4th round pick offered for a 39-year-old player that's not going to be on your team next year, you should probably take it. But yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ashton Davis injury, hopefully he's not too bad. Patrick Paul, really strong day. Lots of physicality with the pads coming on. Yeah. Our secondary dropping like 5 is true. Yeah, I think it was a 4th. I don't think they would have turned down a 3rd. A 3rd sounds crazy, but I'm pretty sure it was a 4th. I mean, it's not that much different, but... Dude. Baltimore wanted him, yeah. I mean, yeah, I would have done that. And I liked Calais. Calais was obviously great for Miami. And I understood the thought process of keeping him. He didn't want to, throw away the season, but... Okay. Somebody let go in there. Beep. Yeah. Didn't Campbell say he wanted to stay in Miami? I think so. I don't remember all the details. There's probably details we're forgetting. I mean, yeah, probably should move past that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I think there's camp tomorrow, so I'll be live again then. Appreciate you guys. Lots of people in here today. I feel like we had so many people on these streams recently, so shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all.